Welcome to the Animal Training Academy podcast show. I'm your host, Ryan Carledge, and I'm passionate about helping you master your animal training skills using the most positive and least intrusive approaches. Here at ATA, we understand that navigating the vast challenges you encounter in training requires a comprehensive base of knowledge and experience. It's common to face obstacles and rough patches on your journey that can leave you feeling overwhelmed and stressed. Therefore, since 2015, we've been on a mission to empower animal training geeks worldwide. We've aided thousands in developing their skills, expanding their knowledge, boosting their confidence, and maximizing their positive impact on all the animal and human learners they work with. We are excited to do the same for you. Simply visit www.atamember.com, join our vibrant community, and geek out with us. And of course, in the meantime, enjoy this free podcast episode as we explore new ways to help you supercharge your training skills, grow your knowledge, and build your confidence, so that you can craft a life that positively impacts every learner you encounter. Well, we will start today's episode where we will be talking to one Rose Browne. Rose is a Karen Pryor Academy certified training partner, Fair Free certified professional animal trainer, and member of several prestigious organizations, including the International Association of Animal Behavior Consultants and the Canadian Association of Professional Dog Trainers. She authored the new Puppy Start Right for Instructors Online Preschool for the Karen Pryor Academy, which is the online integrative component for the original Puppy Start Right Preschool for Instructors. Since 1995, Rose has been deeply immersed in dog training and behavior. She owns Dynamic Canines and has extensive education in canine behavior from world-renowned professionals. A lifelong student, Rose continually updates her knowledge with the latest scientific research to help pet parents incorporate practical, evidence-based training into their daily lives. Her passion lies in early intervention during puppyhood to ensure emotional well-being and prevent behavioral issues. So without further ado, it's my very great pleasure to welcome Rose to the show today, who's patiently waiting by. Rose, thank you so much for taking the time to come and hang out with us at Animal Training Academy.
Well, thank you, Ryan. I'm so happy to be with you today.
Looking forward to learning from you, hearing all your insights and unpacking your experience and knowledge. Let's dive straight in today, Rose, to our first question. I was hoping that you could take us all back to where you first learned about animal training, about positive reinforcement, and share some stories with us from your journey.
Oh my goodness, you're going back into the archives of my brain. All right, so I got my start in dog training because our house was burglarized. Long story short, we had just bought our first home together, myself and my partner, and first thing we wanted was to get a dog. But unfortunately, at that time, back in the 90s, the SPCA and shelters would only give out dogs to people who only had one person working outside of the home. So we were like, okay, we'll have to hold off for a while and save up and get our own dog. But the universe intervened and said, you know what, let's just get your house robbed. And then you can, after the insurance and everything is all paid out, you can take the money for the jewelry and go get yourself a dog. So that's really what happened. And fortunately, at that time, the only way you found dogs was advertised in the papers, right? Local breeders. And fortunately, the breeder that I got my first dog, Simba, from, a beautiful German Shepherd boy, also had her own dog training school. So she gifted, a puppy manners class with her shepherd, her babies. And I just fell in love and went from there. And So as I said, that was back in the mid-90s, long before we even had dial-up internet. And certification was really unheard of, for sure, at that time. But Helen Proudfoot, who was the breeder and my mentor, was actually a Ballhard certified trainer under Jack and Wendy Ballhard. So fast forward a few years later, after mentoring underneath her, I went to the US and became a certified Ballhard trainer. And it wasn't until the late 90s, I want to say 99, around there, that you started to hear about this new quote unquote method, clicker training. And what we'd heard of it, at the time, it was like, yeah, it's really good for tricks, but not real obedience. I never forget those words. It's like, yeah, it's good for tricks. And so, as new information, new stuff started to come out, it really wasn't very much in the early 2000s with respect to behavior. And I was a Ballhard instructor. And at that time, that was a pretty progressive, positive reinforcement training method because, you did use treats. But, hindsight's 2020. We were also using correction. And I had my second shepherd and my first boy in that. And then after they passed, I ended up getting a third shepherd in 2007. And her name was Bella. And Bella was the one that literally caused my training world of everything I had learned and done and taught to others up to that point in time. She sent that crashing down around me. And she is the one that sent me on a mission to find a training method to help her and try and undo the damage that I had unknowingly at that point inflicted upon her through my training, but also unintentionally from things that I wasn't aware of that were impacting her behavior. So, do you want me to continue or shall I? Do you have a question? No, carry on. All right. So Bella's story is, it started out great. She had a really wonderful puppyhood. I did know about, socializing, what we knew about with respect to socialization at that time. So she had lots of really good early on experiences. And the first sign should have been when I put her in doggy daycare at 5 months with her breeder. This was a different breeder than where I got my original boy from. And I started noticing that, you know what? There was days when I went to go pick her up. It was a very small, and still is to this day, crowded facility with 30 to 40 dogs in perhaps a 500 to 600 square foot space with just kind of a large backyard. And I started noticing there was times that, when you go to pick her up, like she was clamoring to get over the gate, right, to come out and meet me. But yet at the same time, when I go to bring her there, she was what I thought, just really super, super excited. Can't control her. Like she just, wants to get in there, barking, yipping, pulling on the leash and all of that. And plus she also was there with her breeder and one of her siblings. But as time went on, it became worse, over the course of a year. And my gut was telling me, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. But being reassured by my friend and her breeder that, no, she's fine. She's having a great time. Then she also ended up during this time being, I want to say the word attacked, but there was no physical bites of dogs rushing and pinning her who were off leash while she was on leash. And again, I started to see the behavior of other dogs coming towards us, and she would bark and lunge and be trying to, what I thought, get to them to say hi, right? Because she was so friendly with the dogs she had grown up with. And then on top of that, she also had several emergency visits in the span of like 8, 9 months to the vet that were and again, in hindsight, were very traumatic for her. So we had several events and we had some chronic events occurring. And until one day, and I was there with another good friend of mine, and we had the dogs out for a walk, and a cat ran in front of us in the tall grass. Well, she absolutely lost her mind, went after them. And my friend was there, and I had been being told for, about 6, 8 months by that time that, you know what, you're just really too easy on her. You really need to be a more firmer hand to make her stop that behavior. And so my friend was there and she's like, just be firmer, Rose. Just be firmer. Right. And she was already on a prong collar. And so I gave a correction. And it's still difficult for me to talk about it to this day because the sound that came out of my dog literally dropped me to my knees because it was such a piercing, blood curdling scream. And I realized in that moment, I was like, oh my God, I've really hurt my dog. And I came home. I was no distance from the house when this had occurred. I came home. I came through the door. My husband said, oh my God, what is wrong? Well, you don't want to know because I can't say the words that I said at the time because I was so upset with myself and knowing what I had done. And I remember taking the prong collar and just flicking it as far as I could. And I said, oh my God, what have I done to Bella? And it was the most humiliating experience that I ever had. And it was all because the world just imploded. And then I was having all of these continuous flashbacks of like, oh my God, you done this, you done that. No, she's like, these are all, and I was like, holy crap, where do I go from here? You know? And it was quite difficult because I tried talking to it about it with my peers and my friends, and all I got was criticized and ridiculed and advised to get a shock collar. So, I lost friendships, and because I walked away because I couldn't get them, to understand, like, no, what we've been doing is more damaging to the dog than any of us realize. Like, we have to stop this. There has to be a better way. And, that was really personally hard too. People criticizing you, emailing you, kind of poking fun at you and saying, "Oh yes, you've now become a Pez dispenser." While I was trying to figure out, because again, there still wasn't a lot of books or anything on the internet for me to kind of somebody help, right? So I just went searching, and one of the books that I found was actually Gail Fisher's book, The Crossover Trainer. And Gail Fisher was also originally with the Volhart. So I knew of Gail because of her relationship, and she wrote books and that with the Volharts and that too. And so when I read her book, I was like, thanks be to God, it's not just me. And somebody has taken the time now to help me understand what and what this method has done. And so it was a great first start down the road to, changing and really focusing on the behavior and, trying to rebuild my poor girls' behaviors, but most importantly, my relationship with her. Because I remember saying to my husband at one point in time, looking back, now that I realize just what an adult that I was doing this to my dog, like if she could have got out of this house and said, yeah, man, I'm out. I said, I wouldn't blame her. Because I said, I created an abusive relationship unknowingly, doing something that I thought was the right thing to do because of what so I was like, I'm surprised she even comes near me. No wonder she wouldn't pay attention when she got a bit of freedom from me. Sure, I wouldn't either. I'd be running after any squirrel or a leaf or anything just to avoid having to be around you, you know. Um, and one of one of the things that I learned as I started to um, look for more information and help, and then I discovered like Karen Pryor and Bob Bailey, and like I was like, oh my God, there's dig a bit deeper, um, and everyone's saying, and to this day, people still use the term, crossover trainer. I was never comfortable with that term. Um, and I tell you why, because it sounds like like it's black and white, you and this is one of the struggles that I still see going on today, um, for people who are still teaching, these methods or whatever. It's kind of like we've unintentionally pitted ourselves between we're right, you're wrong, and I don't think it's that way, because anyone that is a positive trainer now that is of my vintage, you know, it would it's very, very few that actually would have started out with behavior, and understanding positive reinforcement. The majority of trainers and peers that I know, from the 80s and the early 90s, all started with some form of a correction based training method, because that's what was taught. There was no certification, there was no awareness, there was no education regarding canine behavior. And so I think by sober, depending on who you're talking to, they're saying it like it's a black label. And while, I always say, I don't go around wearing this as a badge of honor or any type of a label, because I learned a lot of valuable stuff, about dogs that had nothing to do, um, with corrections. Like, there was way more in the ball hard, uh, training methods. Like, I learned about nutrition, I learned about alternative therapies. So there was a lot of good stuff there. And even the way that they still did do a lot more respectful things than things that were taught at the time, and they actually were very explicit about not using correction to any form of an extreme. Now, I know correction is correction, but if you've seen dogs being corrected on leash, there is quite a difference between the severity of which it is applied. Hence, that's what happened to me, because when I did reach that 10 plus level of severity, that's what broke me. So I think it's really important that we kind of change that terminology and not use it as something that's shameful, for people who have come from a background that involves starting out, using any of these methods. Because honestly, it's not that we're crossing over and leaving every single thing behind, but actually we're evolving. So I like to think that I'm an evolving trainer, and behavior person, not a crossover, because I've evolved from where I started to where I am today. And guess what? In another 3 or 4 years' time, I'll probably be after evolving again, just because I keep up so much with the current research and information that's out there. So that's kind of where it came to. And fortunately, I did get accepted into KPA in 2011. And then I graduated with distinction. And then I went on to do the Puppy Start Right for Instructors program, done by Debbie and Dr. Ken Martin, when it came out, when it launched in 2012. And that really kind of became my passion, and which is also why I had stopped, just prior to the pandemic, of doing all the cases, and instead focusing on puppies and preventative measures and programs, because I truly believe that this is where we need to focus, is at the beginning. And don't get me wrong, we still need help along the way. But if we focus more on preventative and instilling those types of programs, we can do a lot with respect to eliminating some of the more common things that are taking place in the behavior world of dogs.
Well, thanks for sharing all of that. How did
Sure.
it feel talking about Bella now? I
You know
had
what?
I had like tears coming welling up, you know. I was feeling the pain and
Yeah,
feeling the trauma.
it was it. You know, Bella passed in uh, June of 2021, and you know, one of the things that I absolutely love. I mean, all of my dogs were great teachers um, for me, but one of the things about Bella is that is kind of like she brought me to my knees, and yet she also brought me to the mountaintop at the same time by me being able to find that education and use that and incorporate fear-free techniques, consult with a behavior veterinarians to get her the medical support we needed, and to be able to help change that behavior, um, and see the really funny um, girl who would, basically laugh in your face when she was a puppy, come back to me again. And we had so much fun, so much fun. And I'd done competitions with her, obedience competitions. And I thought, geez, why isn't everybody playing this game? To be complimented and say that, the happiest teams they've ever seen working in a ring, to do agility and just this. And it had nothing to do because when we were in our groove and got our groove on, it was just me and her. And, to be able to overcome that fear and to be able to go past dogs that she couldn't do before because of her fear and anxiety, and to see her confidence grow. And just for her to be like, hey, man, this life is great and it's wonderful. So it's still really difficult on that aspect. As I said, she I've never ever felt so vulnerable in any relationship with either a person or a dog as I did at that moment when I realized what I had done with her. And yet at the same time, and I know dogs, they can't say, yeah, no, cheer up, get over it, build a bridge or whatever. But what I did learn from her was, you know what, we'll start again. Each day is a new day. And what I love about it is that for all of the judgment I received from my quote unquote so-called friends, and critics who didn't even know me, because I live in a small area. So, it's a small town. The one that was the most important to me, which was Bella, she never judged me. And I think we could all take a lesson from that, especially when we're looking at people who are coming from a different training background and trying to start afresh. Don't be so quick to judge, because if our animals can, learn to overcome what we do to them unintentionally in our plot to forge and help dogs in life, we need to take it from them. So, she is my inspiration. Every client, I told so many stories that, like, everybody knows the Bella stories because it was so relatable to clients that I was working with fear, reactivity, and people who are blaming themselves because of their dogs. And I was like, hey, look, you're looking at someone who spent thousands and thousands of dollars on an education that she ended up just throwing away because it was crap. So, no, you know what? You're okay. Give yourself a little pat on the back. So, yeah, so she's with me everywhere. She still brings tears to my eyes, both in joy and in loss. But she's there all the time.
Makes me think about the word you said before, evolution, and evolution has some dead pathways in it that don't go anywhere, but that's how evolution works. I
Yeah.
don't know if that
Yeah.
metaphor is relevant for what you just said, but that's what I was thinking. It's like it's not, it's just
Yeah.
evolution.
It's evolution, right? So it's like you said, that's why I named my business Dynamic Canines, because the behavior is dynamic. There isn't just every dog is the same. There isn't just, oh, my dog has separation anxiety, your dog has separation anxiety. Guess what? Their behaviors aren't the same. So, it's very dynamic. It's a constant change. It's ever evolving. So I think I should rename it Dynamic Trainers and Dynamic.
Dynamic learners.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
I'm really sorry to hear that you had to choose between values and friendships. That is that is so hard. Uh,
It is.
I I've done the same, and I'm sure that you, the listener out there, can think about times in your life where a conflict has arisen between your moral compass and your values, and those that you have relationships with, who you might attach the label friends with. How can you just speak to that? How hard was that? And considering that it was a significant amount of time has passed since then, like how do you view
Yeah.
that now? Like what is the hindsight that you can have and share with us now? What insights?
I think, you know, I I'm going to Terry Ryan, who's phenomenal. And I mean, anyone ever been around a chicken can? Terry's there. And, so Terry was my mentor and instructor when I was going through the KPA course. And so I got the privilege of being able to go and do the course in person as an international student because Newfoundland was so far removed from Canada, I couldn't do the Canadian course. We're too far out in the ocean. So it worked out great. And Terry said something, and we were talking about a different subject. We were talking about trying to get people on board, when you're talking about clicker training and the pushback and everything else. But she said this one statement, and she said, "Some will, some won't, others are waiting." And so, for me, that actually kind of resonated back to the relationships that I walked away from when all of this happened with Bella. Because at first I was very angry. I was very bitter because I was hurt so deeply. These were long time friends and people that, I trained with. And to just be so quick to blame the dog and not take any responsibility for what we're doing, and everything was the dog's fault, right? Or my fault, um, instead of like taking that step back. So for the longest time, I just couldn't even think about him, and I could feel my blood pressure kind of go up. But then I realized that, what, that really is their, stumbling block, or there's something in their personalities that perhaps doesn't allow them to accept that, hey man, you were wrong too, right? Because it's not easy when you take your ego and go like, well, you totally suck, don't you? you know because it's quite humbling, and like I said, it makes you feel very vulnerable because you've just opened yourself, and you have all of this guilt coming with it. So, but Terry's words kind of really sunk into that level of understanding that, some people will embrace that there's a better way, there's a newer way. Some people will never accept that. They're going to stay stuck in the archaic times. They don't believe in science. They believe that dogs, and all other animals are just property and they do what I say, period. But you got to kind of put them back in the closet because you know what? I cannot change a person's behavior if they're not willing to participate in the change, because there are others waiting. There are others who, to this day, who may have started off because it's the only type of training method in their area where, they're going in with their dog, or they've become a trainer and the methods being used kind of don't feel real good sometimes at the stuff they're being seen, right? Or having to do with the animal. But of course, again, when you have those questions and you have those doubts, we often kind of squash that down because we don't have anybody who shares them with us. So it's kind of like you're standing alone, on your own, and you just don't feel you have the support. And it's very, very intimidating when you have people around you putting everything you say down. Now, fortunately, unfortunately, again, the way you look at things, I had been bullied in high school. So I kind of grew from that. Um, And so when I get my back up, when somebody keeps coming back, I don't let people intimidate me. And in this case, it was my dog. It was my animal that I shared my life with. She wasn't innocent, right? So don't you dare come and tell me that the only solution is to stick a shock collar on her and hurt her more, right? Uh, no, you're not touching them. I never, ever wanted, to physically hurt my dog. I just didn't realize that I was doing it on a low grade level all along, you know? Um, so fast forward, to today and many years later, I I don't hold any ill feeling towards those past friends. I'll speak to them, I'll just have that casual, but I also understand that again, if they're going to stay on that path, that's their choice. Because there's more than enough information out there, and they've seen enough of it now grow within our community here for them to embrace it. One of my friends actually did. A couple of years later, she had her own kind of you know moments and also saw the stuff that I was doing with Bella, and again, it took her a long time to kind of get that courage to kind of make that cut. Because when you have personal ties, and deep bonded friendships, it makes it a little bit more difficult than if I were walking away from just a stranger that I'd gone in and tried to do training with. But I don't hold, again, my I don't have anger towards any of them anymore. I truly wish that, at some point in time that they'd start to use even just a bit more uh, gentler ways in their training. Because here's the other thing: all of these people love their dogs the same as I did. Um, their love was unending. So I think that's what really offends a lot of people is like, how dare you say that? I love my dog. I'd never do anything to hurt them, right? So when you can't change people's minds, you certainly can't force them to change their minds. You can only provide them with the information and wish them well, and which I do.
Yeah, forgiveness is powerful, I think, not just
It
for
really
others, but
is.
for yourself.
Well, a really good friend of mine told me this, and it's resonated with me in on so many levels for so many different things. Hatred corrodes the vessel from which it is stored, not on the object of which it is poured. So, for me, it's like I don't hate you because that only makes me mad, and I don't want to be mad. So it doesn't do anybody any favors when we go around carrying that resentment. Focus on what you can do, right? And making those positive changes within your own life and the animals you work with.
Mm. And when those relationships are so meaningful to you, it's like tearing your social fabric. So it's such a hard decision to um,
Yeah,
prioritize or choose your values because it's scary and uncomfortable and sad.
yeah, it is sad. And especially, and I think is even more relevant today in a society where we don't necessarily have the same levels of closeness and friendships that we used to have years ago, because so much is forged now over social media, right? And again, it's very hard, um, you know, when you have your quote unquote friend, whether it's a Facebook friend or an in-person friend who's, berating you or telling you you're wrong, or, you know, won't say something to your face, but will talk about you behind your back, and you find out the difference. It's really scary to end any relationship, you know, and having that. I don't know if it. I don't know if it was courage at the time for me. Actually, no, it wasn't. It was just spite. I was just so. I was just like, no, you're wrong. I'm right, and this is for my dog. This is not about you. So if you think that about my dog, well then, fine. I'm done. So yeah, so it was spite at the time. Um, and then of course I kind of bet myself up over that. And that's why I tried to repair to see if they would come on board. But, when you still get, again, it becomes also, I find with people like that, they're very cowardly, and that when you do try to have a conversation, they're not honest. Or they'll tuck and hide away or say to somebody else, and it gets passed along back to you. But I really think, and again, reflecting on so many fakeness in relationships this day and age, that it doesn't matter how long the relationship was or how deep it is. If it's hurting you and it's more detrimental to you or the animal that's in your care, then you know what? I go back to Terry. Others are waiting because there are other friends out there, you know. So it is scary to kind of break free, stand alone. But yet at the same time, I have to be honest, the love and the relief that I had knowing that nobody could hurt Bella again when she was out of my care was far superior to the fear of not having a friend, you know? And again, why stay in? It doesn't matter how long you're friends or your working peers or colleagues. Toxic relationships are no good for anybody, right? So it's just like, yeah, like, why am I staying? Because I've known you for like 20 years and we had some laughs and we done this, we done that. At the end of the day, you're toxic. You're not helping me. And I just don't need that in my life. I need to focus on my dog. I got to try to help her. So and you know what? I have so many friends now that are on the same path as me, that I forged with my relationship, that I forged through all the folks I met through KPA. And it's so wonderful because, again, you're with like-minded folks, and that's the difference. So, dump the toxic so you can make more room for the ones who are worthy of that relationship with you.
I'm currently studying Rose with the wonderful good friend of mine, Jennifer Shryock, and the Family Pause program to become a Family
Yes.
Pause parent educator.
Hmm.
And I'm doing it partly as a parent, 4 years into
Right.
parenthood, four
Yeah.
years later than I ideally wanted to, but as is life. But
It's never too late.
as Bethany, one of the teachers, the instructors, is talking, and she's sharing about some of the challenges and the emotions that come with those challenges uh, as of being a parent and bringing a child into your home where you already have animals. Um, I really got the feeling it's not just me. Like, and that
Yeah,
was like one of the favorite things. I mean, there's so many great things about that course, and it's such important work because, of
it is.
course, of the dangers that are involved with young children and babies and toddlers around dogs. I mean, it is the
Yeah,
work they're doing is so important.
it
And
is. I
so,
done Jennifer's course back in
oh, amazing! I
2017.
didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yay.
yeah,
Um, and 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 so there's obviously so many things I'm taking away from that course, and so much potential now to create such a positive difference. But just for me, that part, like, it's not just me. Just hearing someone explain someone else is going through the thing that you're going through was it.
it's comforting.
Yeah, and you shared that you kind of experienced that when you found, I think you said Gail Fisher's book. You said,
Hmm.
now you've got so many friends on the same path as you that you've met through places like Karen Pryor. Like, can you? I wonder what insights you have to share with the audience of our podcast show in terms of the importance of community, the importance of when you're feeling stuck in a rut and maybe your peers and your friends are even criticizing you, to know
Hmm.
that you're not alone and to find and to seek out that community because we exist, right?
Yeah, we do. We do. And one of the things that I found, when I did start on my KPA journey, right from my interview with with Tia Guest, who was the school admissions at the time. Um, I, I was on the phone and I was a nervous Nelly. And I got off the phone and she was so sweet and she was so positive and she was comforting. And she's like, no, 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 that's okay. That's okay. And I got off the phone and I was like, that is perhaps the nicest interview I've ever had in my life. And it felt weird. I have to be honest, right? Because again, from the background of the training world that I was used in, and especially not that I was really interested in obedience titles or anything like that, but it was kind of the only thing at the time, um, that was in our area. So you were just there and you were supporting people, but I just found it so cutthroat and negative. Like it'd be just a totally different environment. It's just like, no, Rose can't win because Ryan, we like him better and he does this. And, so it couldn't be that Rose and Ryan could be the same, right? It was always this super competitive attitude and critical of the teams, shall we say. But then when I went and got over in swim with Terry and Scotty Harvey, who was assisting her at the time, and met all of my fellow classmates from all over the world, which is great. From Australia to Hong Kong to England, it was wonderful. And again, it was just so welcoming, so friendly. Wanted to hear your input. And it was a multicultural exchange, because we were all different nationalities in that. And it was just like, my God, they're all so nice and kind. Like, ooh, they just don't use it with the dogs. It's with people too. And it was kind of that way. And it being like, it didn't just change my training approach for working with animals. Learning the Karen Pryor and the principles and the understanding of using this, it actually changed my whole outlook of dealing with people, right? So instead of jumping on, oh, you're doing it wrong, which I still say for my husband, by the way, because it's just a thing. It's a spouse thing, just saying. That you actually would take the time to actually show and make it easy, so set things up for success as opposed to automatically going in and criticizing. So I really found that the KPA guiding principles, set out by Karen Pryor, really transferred over into all of my life interactions of, again, treating people the same way I treat and respect an animal, right? And taking them into account, not forcing my ideas and opinions on them. And again, it was just so nice to be in a group where we all joked and carried on. And I didn't have to worry about people going off in the corner and criticizing, us or the different things. It was just such good, open, honest exchange. And it was a place that it wasn't just a place of warmth and welcomeness. It was a trust, right? And it was genuine. You really can't fake genuine. People try, but you can't. And so that community, like starting from there and then going to the Clicker Expo conferences, and meeting people that way, and then of course getting involved with Fair Free. So building within these communities, and you'll start to find that when you're into the different areas, like like with Dog Biz, with Thrive, Gina and Veronica, they jumped on and started Survive and Thrive, as soon as we hit pandemic lockdown, just to offer free support for all of us whose businesses just kind of shut doors overnight. And everything was so helpful and reinforcing in that. What I love about our community is we are so willing and freely wanting to share, support, and help each other grow. There's no underlying competition. There's no, oh, I'm not telling Ryan this because I don't want him to go off and do that. This is my idea. we're out there like, no, no, try this. Let me know what you think. I think that's so. If you're looking for that community, and again with the pandemic, it opened up our community even more, which is great. I mean, look at me. I'm in Canada talking to you in New Zealand. Um, and being able to reach each other on that level. I can only personally speak from the communities that I'm involved with. Um, but I just find them all honest with and caring and genuinely wanting to see each other succeed and grow in their own respective areas. You know, I mean, who who would have thought of, you know, in the other world even 10 years ago, and perhaps even so today, that okay, I can't see you as a client, but let me refer you to this person. And if that doesn't work for you, I have another person to refer to you. So, we refer to each other. It's none of this mindset of um, I'm taking it because it's mine. It's like there's more than enough of us to share and go around, and that's what I love about this community. So, reach out, try to find some of those groups. I'm sure, excuse me, that there may be groups out there that are not as warm and welcoming. But this is where, you kind of dig in, find your niche. What are your interests? And kind of, see if you can find someone. Because again, a good majority of all of our trainers across the globe are actually isolated within their community because there might be the one of or the two of. Like I was the first one in my community. So that was fun. Because, I had to go up and put myself out there against all of the, prong users and training methods and my old training school where I used to teach, so I had to go out and stand alone and hang my flag and say I'm here. And I did, because again, when you feel something so passionately, like, what, this is right. Somebody will show up. What have I got to lose? Right. And so when you offer that, but again, it's still very isolating, by having our global community, especially, like I said, that has expanded so much during and since the pandemic. We've really helped build that community connection where we can truly provide support rather than just trying to poke into a Facebook group and kind of feel it out. There's actual groups that we can be a part of.
We ran some surveys last year, and that fact, based on this survey anyway, of being isolated was one of the main challenges that people said in the survey. We got a couple of hundred responses.
Wow.
And to
Yeah.
say that they're the only positive reinforcement trainer in their locality, geographically, wherever they were in the world. Looking at the time, let's head towards the end of part one. We're going to invite Rose back. I'm excited to talk about puppies on that in part two. But can you share with everyone, Rose, what you're up to in 2024 and where people can go online to find you, to get in touch
Sure.
and see your work?
Yeah. So currently I'm on a sabbatical uh, uh, for some professional projects that I'm currently working on. So I'm not taking on new clients at this time. I still see my return clients because, let's face it, you can't have the dog withdrawals, right? It's real. Uh, so, so I'm working with a good friend on some projects right now that are in development. So stay tuned on that. But in the interim, my website in that is still up and active. It's dynamiccanines.ca. You can contact me through there, and certainly, go ahead. And I say to people, like, check out my CV, my bio, my background. Just don't take my word for it because I'm talking on a podcast. No offense. But again, it's just nice to know who you're talking to. But if people have questions or just feel a little unsure or want a bit of guidance or something, love to have an email. I love talking to people to kind of help them kind of see if they're they're stuck, or maybe they just have some questions about puppies and are looking at a program for themselves. So yeah, get in touch. Check out www.dynamiccanines.ca.
Wonderful. We will, of course, link to everything in the show notes. But let's officially wrap up part one of this episode here. Rose, this has been so much fun. And on behalf of myself and everyone listening, we really appreciate you coming on the show today. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And thank you for letting me share the hard parts of some of the things from my past.
And thank you so much for listening as well. This is your host, Ryan Cartledge, signing off from this episode of the Animal Training Academy podcast show. We hope today's conversation inspired you and equipped you with new tools for your trainer's toolbox. Remember, every challenge in training is an opportunity to learn and sharpen your animal training geekery. Embrace the rough patches, learn from them, and keep improving. And don't forget, the path to growing your skills and expanding your knowledge continues beyond this episode. Visit www.atamember.com to join our supportive membership, where you will find a community of trainers just like you. Together, we're making a huge positive difference in the lives of animal and human learners worldwide. Until next time, keep honing your skills, stay awesome, and remember, every interaction with an animal or human learner is your opportunity to create ripples. We're here cheering you on every step of the way. See you at the next episode.